Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Fiona. I work at Munster Technology University in Ireland as a researcher. And Davide has already shown this slide, which shows you all of the partners that were involved in the BioBEC project. And this is us here, Munster Technological University. So we'll be talking about this part of the work as the leader, but really this part involved all of the partners to some extent or another. Everybody was involved. So this is us here at MTU. We're the Circular Bioeconomy Research Group. So we're led by Helena McMahon and James Gahy. We have a huge variety of projects underway and partnerships across Europe. Myself and Eve and Helena were working on this BioBEC project together. So as Davide said, this is the next step. So after what Lena was talking about just now, in terms of the actors and network development and mapping, how do we get from there to actually creating a bio-based education centre? So looking at what had been done. So as Lena said, we've had a look already at who was involved in the bioeconomy, what skills did they need, what networks were already actually formed, and then, of course, in each region, what were the characteristics of the bioeconomy in each region. So this next part of body of work was how do you take all that and how do you actually form a bio-based education centre, and what format is that going to have? So what we did was a three-part process. The first part was desk research. So all of the partners contributed to this, and we came up with this inventory of best practices in education, not necessarily in bioeconomy. So over all types of education, what are centres that are really at the top of their field, and how do they work? And then having a look at how they work and what the structure of those are, we came up with a way of surveying then all of the institutions involved in the BioBEC project to start sketching out what the profile might look at. And then once we had that profile of those 6 regional bio-based education centres, then we actually went back to focus groups. So we went into a process of thematic interviews in the focus groups to really drill down and produce a business model canvas to lay out what the structure of those bio-based education centres was going to be. So to a bit more detail, the inventory of best practice, we came up with, I'll only show you a few of them here. We came up with these examples. So all over Europe, we came up with, I think, about 30 examples in the end of really, really incredible work. So whether it's an EU project, whether it's a national centre like the Rediscovery Centre here in Ireland, whether it's an agricultural business academy in Denmark, what were they doing really well? How were they doing what they were doing? Who was involved in it? So we took all of those best practice, and then we came up with this survey. So the idea was, the survey was, can we look at what all those centres are doing really well, and can we see where the institutions in BioBEC are along the journey? Are they ready to actually start a bio-based education centre? So the kind of questions we asked were about what your speciality was in the bioeconomy, what kind of staffing roles and functions do you have? Like, do you have a program manager within your organization that will be able to take on the role of designing bio-based education programs? What have you done in the past? So have you done projects in the past or at the moment that might be relevant? What type of centre are you as well? This, as we come into the next section of work, this was very important. So are you a public or a private entity? And what kind of networks you have? So what links do you have to other industries? What links do you have to government, to research centres, to other education centres within your region? And then what Neela was talking about just now, so what educational level are you experienced at dealing with? So are you more used to doing outreach programs in primary and secondary schools? Do you work more with vocational training programs, or are you designed at third level university programs? in terms of talent and skills, because this was a key part, do you have a specialist within your institution who really focuses on talents and skills requirements? And then also really key to something that again came across as a skills need requirement across all of the regions was these digital creative and entrepreneurship skills. So do you have access to development of those skills in your region or in your institution? So that was the survey, and we pulled all those surveys together and came up with this sketch of now suddenly these education centres are starting to have a little bit of a format. We're starting to have an idea in this country who's involved in it, what kind of shape it might take. So what we needed to do then was take that sort of outline shape and create this business model canvas. So this is the example here of Finland's. So we sat down with so many stakeholders in each country, and either in person in focus groups or recorded interviews, we looked into this business model canvas. So who exactly are the partners that are involved in each of these centres? What kind of cost, what kind of governance would they actually employ? What resources do they have, and what kind of value can that centre offer for customers? Where's the money going to come from? Is a key question throughout all of this. And then what customers would you be aiming at? So the outputs of this section were your best case practice cases, the survey, and then of course this final key item to the BioBEC project was this business model canvas for each bio-based education centre. So each of the 6 regional centres, we now had this business model canvas, which gave us a starting point to move forward with. So all of the outputs from this section then you can actually find on the BioBEC website. If you go to the document section, if you want any more details on any of that information that I've discussed, you can go to there. And the next step then our colleague Knut is going to talk about the next step. So you've got these 6 business model canvases, and what happens next? So the next step is turning that into a really detailed business plan. So it's going to be drilling down into, well, really, how does the governance work? What kind of structure? Who's going to be involved? Where is the money going to come from? What resources are you going to need in the centre? And how are you going to fund that? What are you going to offer? What are the needs in your particular region, and how are you going to meet those needs? So the details of that was then the next section of the project, which I'm not going to talk about now because that's Knut's part. So that's me. That's my contact details there.